Hello, welcome. My name is Rick Dunn with LineHaul Solutions, and I am joined here today with Mr. John Haldi of Haldi Tech, who has graciously agreed to come on and share his experiences getting into the linehaul space as a vendor, and I cannot wait to hear his story. John, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me here.
John, we have had a whirlwind of a relationship these past couple months, and I have loved watching you work. You've helped me out so much and kind of given us focus, and I wanted the opportunity to have you on and maybe get into your story. So, if it's okay
Sure.
with you, I'd love to hear what in the world got you to this point.
I'm flattered you're interested. Uh, my story's a little bit accidental. I'm a software guy. I have been in software since I got out of college, first in the medical vertical, then in the .com space, and then in finance. Most recent stint was building high frequency trading systems on Wall Street, which was fun but frenetic. Um, and I was working for Hewlett Packard a number of years ago, and a very good friend of mine called me and he said, "I'm so excited. I just bought a line haul business with 20 trucks." And I said, "That's awesome. Congrats." And he said, "I know that there's gold in this settlement file I'm getting from FedEx, but I have no way to get to the good stuff. It's just a hot mess what I'm getting."
Mm,
And I said, "Well, let's take a look at it. This is just a software thing, right?" He says, "It is. And I'm going to warn you, what I need the most is I just did my first payroll the way the old owners showed me how to do it. We have 30 drivers. It took me 2 days with one of those old fashioned calculators with the tapes that they gave me and a clipboard, and I'm
what
ready to
year was
kill
this?
myself." This was about 8 years ago. It's a
Okay.
true story. And this is the way the owners had done it. The old owners had done it for 20 something years. And he said,
Wow.
"I'm ready to kill myself. And what's worse is we do weekly payroll." And I laughed, and he actually flew me up to Pennsylvania to take a look at things. And we got to work. And as just one buddy might help another, I knocked out some Excel macros, and it grew and it grew. And then it turned into a Windows application up hosted in the cloud on AWS. And the whole time I kept saying to him, "What is everybody else doing?" And he kept saying, "I don't know. I don't know other people. We don't talk to each other in line haul space. I know the person who sold it to me, and I've met once one other person at the terminal, and we've never really spent any time. I'm sure there's something, but nobody's telling me, and I can't find any info on FedEx." And I thought, wow, that sucks, but we'll keep plowing forward. And we worked together off and on this for like 5 years. And we built feature after feature after feature. And I was terrified of it because I had a day job. He wasn't paying me. I was just helping him. And in fact, I kind of pushed back and said, "Where's this going?" And and he said at the time, he said, "Look, we're a little software company. If I had to pay you, there's no way the ROI would make sense to build software." I said, "So buy something." He says, "Nothing exists that I know of." I was like, "You've been in the space 4 or 5 years now. There's got to be something." And lo and behold, a meeting got organized down here in Atlanta where I live, a Paradiso meeting that Brian O'Connor put together for some contractors. And he went to the meeting. And at that meeting, he was sitting there next to some folks at another company. And they looked over his shoulder at his laptop and said, "What's that?" He said, all embarrassed, he says, "It's just something we home grew. I'm sure you're using something so much better." And they looked at him, and they were like 5 times as big as he was at the time. And he was getting bigger by then. They said, "No, we don't have anything. Nobody has anything. We're desperate for a solution." Next thing you know, we're talking about retooling the thing for the web and having it multi-client, and some very supportive beta users jumped in and took advantage of it. And that's kind of our story. We came out loud midway through COVID, Christmas time 2020, and we've not been around that long,
So
but
less
the
than two
adoption
years
rate,
ago.
less than two years
Gotcha.
ago, we've been out loud. We started that beta 6 months before then and really hammered at it to get it right. And so it's been a lot of fun. And I decided to quit my day job and do this full time. And I've got a team, and we've been enjoying working with contractors. It's a phenomenal community of entrepreneurs, business people who work their butts off. They understand the value of sweat and brains and all that good stuff. But at the same time, we faced a lot of headwinds. I don't want to get ahead of myself in the conversation, but that's how we got here. It was really accidental. We built something and a bunch of other people saw the value in it, and it took off virally, which is great because we're not good at marketing and we're not good at sales. So if people weren't knocking on the door asking for it, we'd be in big trouble.
I'll start off. I love Haldi Tech in the short time we've used it. And I was one of the guys, I still have my notebooks from 2014, 15. The payroll that we did, you'd go through that settlement statement truck by truck, trying to make sure the driver and the driver number was attached to it. And then it was just this grid format I used because it was the most convenient way to do it at the time. And it's a lot of just using a calculator and hope that it comes out correctly. Can I ask, did you see what other people are using prior to swapping over to Haldi Tech, and anything exciting you can tell us about ways that people were doing their payroll?
It was either paper and pen or Excels. A lot of people have developed very complicated Excels to do this, or nothing. I mean, because the challenge is the way LineHaul pays or should pay is so complex. You can't use a typical HR payroll system. All those systems are designed for hourly pay or salary, right? Mm-hmm. The biggest hurdle for a lot of companies is when the lack of tools makes it so hard to pay the way you want to pay, to incent driver behavior the way you need it to incent it, you end up using some sort of half-baked system that works for the tools because you strike a balance and you're like, all right, you know what? We're just going to pay hourly. Hourly has lots of pitfalls, right? Drivers are just as happy if they're getting paid hourly to sit there waiting for a sort than to take a spot and go do something, right? They're getting paid the same either way. CPM, great, but then you get folks complaining because I get double dropping hooks all the time. The other guy gets single dropping hooks. Why am I working so much more for the same pay as the other guy? How do you overlay safety bonuses? How do you compensate someone that they normally don't work Thursdays, but Frank had the flu, so Sally came in and covered on Thursday? When you're doing it all by hand or with a spreadsheet and you're doing all these exceptions, like, it gets complicated. And it just doesn't work. I mean, how many hours a week should you be spending on just figuring out how to pay your people? And if it's 6 drivers, okay. But when you get 5 more runs and it's 11 and 10 more and you're 21, like, none of that scales.
We had a standing meeting set Wednesdays at 9 a.m. just to talk about payroll about the week before, go through 4 different people taking up an hour and a half, just ensuring that we're paying our drivers correctly. We know that's most important. Drivers, you got to have just brutally accurate payroll, or they're going to let you know quickly, because you better believe they've calculated it, and you need to be able to communicate, well, hey, I paid you this and here's the reason why. So there's always the what ifs or the one-offs, especially when you're running the wild runs, the wild teams, the doing the extras, which you want to do because it obviously gets us more money, but it's what do we do? So,
to put a dollars and cents figure on it, though, there's only one kind of problem you hear about from drivers regarding pay, which is, you didn't pay me what you should have. I'm short.
I'm short. Yes. I don't know how many say, oh, hey, by the way, I got an extra $100 in my payroll.
No, that doesn't happen.
Ever. Never had that combo.
But if you hear the conversations on the recruiting side of the house, you can spend $5,000 or $10,000 to get a new driver, and you can lose a driver for shorting them $200.
So true. Yes.
Right. So getting payroll right is critical. If your process is opaque and manual, when you short a driver, it's your fault. If it's formulaic and you can explain to the drivers, what we get from the settlement goes right into the computer and goes to your paycheck, and they get shorted, now it's FedEx's fault, right? That's a big win. And if you can do it fast enough that they can see the draft report more than 24 hours before the direct deposit cutoff, Believe me, you might take a year to train a driver to do something right. It'll take about 10 minutes to train a driver to get in touch with me now to correct your paycheck.
Yeah.
That's an easy win. So now
Mhm.
you're not getting blamed for problems, and there's an opportunity to fix it before the paycheck goes out. Because there's nothing worse for a driver who's expecting $1,500 this week. The rent check went out, they're expecting the direct deposit, and because of a FedEx error, they get $800 because the run was assigned to someone else or wasn't paid to you, and they just bounced their rent check or their mortgage check.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
you're the evil person, right?
You feel rotten, when that
Yeah.
happens, and especially when you can't fix an issue. Um,
Worse when the driver says, "I'm never working for you again," and they're a great driver.
so early in the conversation with any new recruit that we're having, one of the first things I like to say is, look, we don't mess with your money. We ensure that you are getting paid on time at this point every week, exactly what you deserve. And if not, I am, doing whatever possible to get you that money using whatever technological means available. And for anybody new looking to get into the space, any of our, clients or potential clients, that's near the top of the list. I mean, you think of priorities, make sure your drivers get paid accurately and on time. And that's the first part of successful recruiting, and more importantly retention, and to make sure they stay around and they aren't looking at other contractors and seeing what else is out there and whatever jobs may greener grass at this point. Pay them on time, pay them accurately, and that's been a huge positive for us, and we've done some crazy things to get guys their money when it wasn't our fault. Paychecks paid the wrong guy. ADP didn't include the bonus that we included on it. Hey, Cash App, Venmo, here's some cash, whatever we can do just to get you this money, because that's our agreement. That's the minimum that we can do as business owners.
Mhm.
So, John, can I ask, like, what FedEx response was when they learned about the software? And I know that, a new vendor coming on board can be challenging. Can you walk us through FedEx's response to the software?
There hasn't been one.
So maybe.
I was surprised at first. The more I'm in the space, the less surprised I am.
Wow.
Um, I don't even know if FedEx knows we exist. I've tried every way I know how to reach out to them to ask, hey, could you make the settlement data available via an API? Can you automate anything so we don't have to go in and get the settlement? And I'd respect it if they said no, but I've never ever found out who to talk to, and I've never been able to get anybody by emailing or calling anybody there to reach out to me. And I understand they're busy and we are small potatoes compared to the world of FedEx. This is not a slight on FedEx, but your question was, what's their reaction? I have no idea.
I know you deal with a lot of customers, and we all, just had this fantastic experience. Anybody who went to the Dallas LineHaul Summit, what was that? Only a month or two ago. Can you kind of tell us how that came about, where that came from? I'd love to hear the story of how I ended up in Dallas, in a random weekend in July.
Well, if you recall, when I talked about how we got started, I was kind of shocked that in the line haul space, my buddy didn't talk to other contractors, didn't have an opportunity to network with them, didn't have an opportunity to learn from them. And that meeting in Atlanta was eye-opening to me because Brian O'Connor and Paradiso were so forward thinking to fill that need by bringing smaller groups together. And as a small startup in this space, I felt the acute pressure of how to get the word out about what we were doing. Word of mouth only goes so far. People only know so many things, so many different contractors. And I started talking to other vendors in the space who I know, and I discovered we were all suffering for the same problem, which is how do we reach contractors? How do we let them know we have something so if they're interested, they could get in touch with us? And Flint Holbrook and Tim Goff and I and Alex Frum, and I got to give a shout out to Alex. He's not a vendor, but he felt the need for this too as a contractor. He jumped on board. The four of us put some money into a company and said, let's take a shot. We may absolutely look like fools at the end of the day, but we think that there's a need for this. And we worked for about a year to put together this trade show, this event, the LineHaul Summit. Uh, I'd say it came off really well, uh, but I will tell you very candidly, there were moments that if it was a restaurant, you wouldn't have wanted to see the kitchen. Okay. But dinner came out great.
The food was wonderful, that's for sure.
We had a great time working together. We did work our tails off. It was really gratifying to see the response there. But the goal was to give contractors a chance to come together and get to know each other. Networking was key, but to do it in a supportive environment where contractors could learn a lot really fast. We wanted it to feel like drinking from a fire hydrant as far as education.
Great analogy.
And I think we succeeded for the most part. We had a few sessions that could have been better, but others were better than we thought they'd be. But more importantly, too, selfishly for me, we wanted an opportunity for vendors to get with contractors and have a chance to show what value they can bring to the story in a non-pressure sales environment, but to get the, and also for vendors to see their customers, because we're all over the country. I can't afford to fly around meeting customers at our price point. So it was a great chance to actually see people, have a bite to eat, have a drink, do those kinds of things, and put a face to a name. So I think we did pretty good marks on all of those things. So in fact, we are busy already planning the LineHaul Summit 2023. We were a little constrained in locations because post-COVID, it turns out you got to book these things 2 years out. Who knew? But we were lucky enough to get the same place, the Irving Convention Center, and the hotels around it. And it is, for those of you watching the video, and we should be sending out save the date emails any day now. So I'm not sure which will come first, but June 28, 29, and 30, back in Dallas. You can fly into DFW or Love. It's going to be at the Irving Convention Center, and we are expecting about 1,000 people this year. We don't have to cap it, but it's going to be about double in size.
I walked into Dallas, flew in, to be honest, not knowing what to expect. And to be fair,
You were a doubter.
I was, and it was because, there's another group that puts on these events, and I went to one, and it was absolutely fantastic in Vegas not that long ago. But for a line haul contractor, these events are heavily P&D based, and it's a way for them to connect. And we had a couple meetings. I met a lot of people, but it wasn't the line haul focus that Dallas was. And for me, walking in, not expecting anything, it was great. Just in terms of learning, I teach people how to do this a lot, and I'm learning stuff in every forum that I went into. I have friendships now, legit friendships, people that I talk to almost a daily basis that I met in Dallas. Vendors, my personal FedEx business we just closed on 2 rolling equity leased tractors that we're getting in the next 2 weeks now for peak season. I met those guys in Dallas. We changed insurance. We have, obviously started using Haldi tech, Ground Cloud. We ordered our first unit, like all these vendors, that I was their target market, right? I came in and, it worked. And for me, being able to now have connections and have these communication lines open to where when I'm advising somebody on where they should go, oh, just got a new truck, you need a new truck, go to here, and here's the reason why. Or, hey, you could use this software, but let's consider this one because I think this may be better for the size of your company. Or you should call this person. Or even better than all of that, the number of contractors that I met that are just so willing to have a conversation and share best practices and give just a sense of camaraderie now in the space. I had no idea. I didn't know they existed. And they found me, and I certainly found them. And the vibe and the sense of community that we have now coming out of Dallas in this space has never been better. I've never been more excited about being part of this group and calling myself a line haul contractor, because I have so many people that are willing to just share information and just help you and sometimes just having an ear, a friendly ear that can understand your frustrations can be so valuable, especially as a small business owner, entrepreneur, where a lot of times you feel, man, I'm in this alone. I have nobody with me. It's my company. It all falls on me. Well, no, there's many other people that can talk you through your issues and pull you out of a dark place if needed. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So Dallas for me was just absolutely game changing, not just for my business, but for my, my FedEx line haul business myself.
So if I could react to that just a little bit, having spent a year of my life working on that, that is the greatest thing I could possibly hear, that this had value for others. And we've heard it from a bunch of folks. So thank you for that. It makes me feel great. Our mission, I mean, I told you the story. I started this helping a friend with his business. And then I realized there's a way to help other people with their businesses. And that's our mission. We want to serve the contractors that we're writing the software for, help them make more money at the top line, help them keep more money on the bottom line, run better businesses, provide better jobs for everyone. And that mission to me resonated with what's going on both with the Line Haul Summit and what we heard at the Line Haul Summit. Flynn Holbrook gave a brief but really on point kickoff when he said, folks, there's a lot of challenges in the space right now. Truck costs are going up. Driver costs are going up. Fuel costs are going up. FedEx is doing the best they can. They have their own challenges with inflation and all the other costs that they deal with. These things are outside of our control. FedEx is a great partner. They've given us the ability, all of us, myself included, to invest in our businesses. Yes, there are challenges. There's always challenges, but we need to focus on what we can do to make our lives better. And the number one thing we can do is run a more efficient, safer business. So let's all come together and share information, and let's individually get better at what we do and collectively strengthen the FedEx Ground network so that FedEx can market it better, possibly make more money, and be able to let some of that money roll downhill to us. That's the big hope, right? But we know that we've got to contribute by making the FedEx Ground network the strongest it can possibly be so that the FedEx team can go out and market it as such and get more and more customers. And I'm really delighted to be a part of that conversation and to see that the Line Haul Summit had a really positive spirit about getting better at running our businesses and helping as a team each other to make the whole thing stronger and better. I'm delighted, and I'm really hoping that we take that up exponentially next year.
And it was year one. It was year one. You couldn't have known what to expect, and now the buzz is there. And for all 12 people that are going to watch this, come to the summit. It's a fantastic event. Book your hotel and just block that week off now. You will get more knowledge. You will get more support than anywhere else you're going to in this space at one time. The drinking from the fire hose analogy is absolutely fantastic because I walked away with that exact feeling, and I still feel it 2 months later. So thank you. Where aside, we have this sense of community now. Where do you see it going? And obviously next year is a ways away, but even before that, is there anything you guys have in mind to maybe bring a group of contractors together, continue to share that information?
We are definitely brainstorming a bunch of ideas. We're trying to raise some money for those ideas. And we're trying to figure out if it's best to have contractors contribute to the effort or vendors. We're talking to both, and I don't want to give away any surprises, but I think that there's going to be a lot of interesting things coming up soon, opportunities to continue the conversation, to continue to build a sense of community. Peak season's always tough, right? Everybody's got their nose down, working their butts off. We're going to be really busy because it's quieter for us in the sense that customers aren't coming during peak season to look for software and shop and take their time and change processes. We're going to use that time to hopefully in January and February have some really interesting new opportunities to strengthen the network. So I'm not going to give away any secrets on that, but we're definitely working on that.
I am greatly looking forward to it, without a doubt, especially in relationship to Haldi Tech and the growth we're going to have there. But where this space is going. And thank you for leading the charge. And I know it's not just you, but you guys have been just phenomenal in providing this opportunity.
Well, let me give you this glimpse. It's not going to be a Haldi Tech thing. I
Okay.
want to bring the players together like we did by bringing a group of people together for LineHaul Summit and make it a collective thing that everybody feels a sense of ownership of and gives an open platform for everyone to be part of it. I don't want to put the Haldi Tech brand on it because I think it's not appropriate for what we're thinking in terms of building community. I want to be a part of building something bigger and with other vendors involved and all the contractors involved, and maybe, who knows, if we're lucky, FedEx in some way participating.
John, thank you absolutely so much for joining us today.
Oh,
Greatly
it's my
appreciate it.
pleasure.
For
Thanks
anybody,
for having me.
for anybody who happens to see this, and what's the best way? Where do you send people who want to learn more about Haldi Tech?
Start on our website. Our phone number's there. We work 8 to 7 Eastern time. We love when people call us. You can email us. You can email me. We'll put my email down there and my phone, our company
Definitely.
phone number. But just reach out. We'd love to have a conversation. And I love talking to contractors about what's going on in the space and what's happening in their business. And if you want to learn about my software, that's even more fun for me, but you don't have to.
And I'll say also, I send all of people who are interested in the space. You have a YouTube page that has fantastic interviews that you've done, and I would highly recommend anybody who's interested in the space go to John's YouTube page. We'll certainly link it, and watch some of those videos. And you have some just really fantastic vendors and contractors that I know you've had communication with that really portray the space in a positive light, give you the behind the scenes, everything that we try to do in LineHaul Solutions.
Fresh out of the oven, go to our website too, to the resources section, because
Mhm.
not only are our videos there, but we're gathering those great videos from Mitch Adams that he's done about recruiting, and the videos that are on point for this space from Flint Holbrook, the conversations we've had about fuel. We're trying to create a centralized resource. It's in the early stages, and I think we're going to probably move it in the direction of something that's not got a Haldi Tech brand on it, but we needed a place to park it for now. So also you can find that our website under resources. And please, 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 if you're not on the Facebook group, join the conversation there. We
Yes.
created that for the community, and there's over 700 people in there. And I think the conversation is wonderful. People ask great questions, and a lot of people take the time to answer them.
I'm in there daily joining.
FedEx Ground LineHaul Contractors.
Yes. John, again, thank you so much.
Rick, thank you. Always
Kelsey.
a pleasure. And this was fun. Let's do it again.